those fancy names that I clearly know about muscles. And when you know strategies of how to engage those muscles and stretch them and flex them and make sure they're toned whenever you're, doing physical activity. In the same way, when you're doing mental activity, if you know these 5 dimensions, you've stretched them, you've gotten to experience them on your own, then when you come across moments in real life when you're in need of these bright colors to bring some flash and pizzazz to your life, a little more critical kick, you know what I'm saying? Then you'll know what to do thanks to these little morning sessions where you got to stretch your critical thinking capacities because you've got them. And so have people throughout time and across the world, thinkers just like you. We will pull wisdom about what it means to be intentional today because that is our first component for the week. We talk about how can you direct and maintain your attention in the world so that you can engage and be present and connect in comprehensive ways. Comprehensive in the world, you're able to be in depth out here because you've done in-depth work in here. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, intentionality with great thinkers across the globe and across history. So if you know of other thinkers who have said things about being intentional, please let me know in the knowledge of the people, by the people, for the people intentionality form. Give me some quotes. What do you know about being intentional? Do you have people you look up to who have been really intentional and helped you flex those muscles? I want to know because they could help other people other than you. So let's spread our knowledge, am I right? And toss these little pieces of intentional wisdom in our knowledge of the people, by the people, for the people, because not only are these lessons for you and by people like you, they're also of you. We are constructing this knowledge together. So help me do that so we can best be intentional. You know what I mean? Let's do it together. Let's be intentional together. All right, let's see what we got. Ooh, tiny text that you're definitely not going to be able to read. So I won't even bother. But it is Kathleen Weiler from The Politics of Liberation, Paths from Freire, a book that I have read about different ways to liberate, especially in the classroom and when it comes to knowledge. So let's see what Kathleen has to say about being intentional. Both experience and feeling are claimed as a kind of inner knowing. Experience and feeling claimed as a kind of inner knowing, shaped by society, but at the same time containing an oppositional quality. Feeling is looked to as a guide to deeper truth of that abstract. Feeling is looked to as a guide to a deeper truth than that of abstract rationality. Experience, which is interpreted through ideologically constructed categories, also can be the basis for an opposition to dominant schemes of truth if what is experienced runs counter to what is set forth and accepted as true. Okay, so she's talking about how there are different elements of knowing other than the ones we learned at school, right? At school, it was pretty much is the historical moment we're in. We are post the Enlightenment movement, which is not when people first became reasonable. No, 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 no. That is when we started to have a discussion about reason and say, hey, a lot of our society is organized, and the way we develop our logic is based on a lot of belief and faith. That was kind of the history, the chapter of human history before this one. Why don't we begin to reshape our society, making sure we also run it through rationality and our reasons, making sure we have a real life, concrete justification for what we're doing, not just because we're like, we believe this is the way it should be done. Like, no, we should also have real, concrete, material consequences tied to what we're doing that aligns. There's a logic there, right? There's reason and rationality. So this was a huge step and an important step, but we've kind of said that's the only way of knowing is like a computer, right? And we've treated learning as if it's just collecting information. Because if you're just collecting information like a computer, then you'll have all the reasons. You'll have a whole list of reasons. You'll be super reasonable. And scholars like Kathleen Weiler, who is a feminist scholar, came along and said, okay, of course, reasons are important, but how do we, once we collect this information, we don't just have a list. How then are we choosing? We collect so much information. There's more to this whole knowledge thing than just collecting a bunch of reasons. Like, haha, I have all these justifications for my life. I have a rationality, the end. There's more to it. There are different layers. And so she's saying experience and feeling are also other filters, just like we should look for, hey, are there real life reasons out there that align with my belief? And my logic aligns with the real world in real ways? This is good. That's really important. But there's more to, there are more filters that we take in than just reason. And by ignoring those type of reasons, which we have, as the Enlightenment movement was mostly male and white, it was Eurocentric. So it was white men, able-bodied white straight men who were deciding what rationality was. And in that discussion, which was important, but it wasn't showing off all the color of humanity, right? There's so much more richness when we open up to more and more groups. So they were having an important conversation. But Kathleen is saying, okay, here's two other ways. And she breaks them down, which is super interesting. So she's saying we have intuition as knowledge, which is our feeling. We don't just use our computer up here for things. We also have senses. We literally feel things in the world with our senses and with our hearts, right? We have those two layers. Sensation is what we feel and touch, and with our hands and nose and eyes and mouth, what we taste and smell. But more than that, it's also how those things make us feel on the inside. So it's body, but it's also inside our body, right? Feelings are those two, they're intermixed. And then there's experience. So what she says, what feeling helps us do is it's a guide to deeper truth than just that of rationality. Feelings guide us as we engage in the world, and they're part of our like evolutionary development. They help us survive. We are life forms, and so we want to be able to harness all of the parts of us for life, for a life that we want and that's flourishing, just like a plant or an animal. We use all of our skills, our entire being, to help flourish in life and have the fullest possible life. And feelings help us do that. We do not make decisions on rationality alone. We are guided very strongly by our feelings, and that's a good thing. It brings us a greater life. I have a dog lying here right next to me who I love and I love so much. But there are like lots of reasons not to get a dog, right? They're hairy, they're stinky. You have to feed them every day. You have to pick up their poop out there. You got to keep up all kinds of maintenance, keep those teeth clean, keep their claws trimmed. Oh, it's a lot of work, a lot of reasons in the rationality column not to have a dog. But we love them. My life is so much more filled with feelings that make me happy. So sometimes like reasons, forget them, right? There's we have reasons for why these feelings matter, right? We can list so many reasons when we're grounded in love as a feeling. That's a powerful anchor for reasons. When we're grounded in love, then our rationality can really kick into gear on a different level. When we care about something, we create so many reasons for engaging in that something, right? So by harnessing the two together, you fuel them both. You fuel them both. So we don't rank here. We don't rank in the colors of critical. We don't put one above the other. Feelings and rationality need to be working in tandem, not separated, not saying one is better than the other, because it is together. It is when they are intermingling and both working optimally that, whoo, you're really going to cover some ground as a critical thinker. So, feelings, they're a good thing. Don't write them off. Okay, and then she says experience is also knowledge. So why feeling is one thing, but then you also have memories. You know things in the world because you lived it. And even if tomorrow we put a blanket over the earth and we never see the sky again, we never see the sky again, and people started saying that the sky was purple, you would know. You would know. Maybe all the books were changed. Things like that could happen, right? And there would be no proof but your own lived experience. And that would still be real. And you would still know. You would have true knowledge despite everything else. If you lived it, you know it, right? So again, science has come out. We've shown that like eyewitnesses accounts are not completely reliable. Obviously, again, experience is not meant to stand on its own. It's meant to be with these other kinds of knowing. And I'd say eyewitness accounts prove that we need each other. We need more eyes on things, okay? One set of eyes is going to let us down. Two set of eyes going to let us down. We need lots of human eyes. We need lots of human eyes looking at things and making sure that it is as accurate as possible, right? That to me speaks more of we need each other. The fact that experience can't be relied on. We need collective experiences. It's going to be much, but just like any science experiment, you can't just have one experimentee. You need lots and lots and lots. You're not going to learn much about the human experience from just one perspective. Of course, you can, but it's in dialectic. We need both. We need individuals, and we also we need individuals to be independent thinkers. But sometimes they're going to fail, and that's when the collective comes in, right? And when one eyewitness isn't enough, we need more and more, right? But it all matters. We're not going to rank. So, experience is tricky, but it really matters. She says here that especially when it matters is if it runs counter to what is set forth and accepted as true. So, just like I said, if we had the blanket around the earth, it's such a silly example, but we can't see the sky anymore. I guess it would need to be even closer. I don't know where we're doing this blanket. in the atmosphere. You can't see the sky, no more clouds. Oh man, that's a tight little sphere we got. You would know it would run counter, your knowledge would run counter to what everybody else was saying, and it was true. Sometimes that's the problem. So, like I was saying, experience can let us down with like eyewitnesses we know. But sometimes a whole crowd is saying one thing, and all we need is the one person to say the true thing. So, do you see what I'm saying? How sometimes eyewitnesses are wrong, but sometimes they're more right than a whole collective. And so it's weird being a human. Our independent minds need each other, can't function without each other, but also the collective mind can't function without the independent mind. So we need to know how to work together and we need to stand on our own, both of these being as true as possible as we can on the inside, right? Resonating with our inner truth and what we know, thanks to feelings and experience, but also resonating with the world outside of us. Right. So intentionality is complex and it is personal, but it's also shared. And so we together need to be working on our intentionality together and listening from and respecting each other's feelings and experiences because, yes, they can be inaccurate and flawed, but they're speaking to something true in people. There's always, even if an eyewitness account is wrong, it's saying something true. And sometimes we have to figure that out. And that's complicated. And I won't go down that path. But experience and feeling. Quit trying to just be a rational creature. You're more than a rational creature. Robots are rational creatures. You've got a heart. You've got senses. Robots are jealous of you, okay, for sure, because you've got something else. If they could be jealous, which they can't, only you can, because that's a feeling and an experience that you have had. It's a whole different kind of knowing. You'll know things your computer won't ever know. Sure, they have the lists of statistics and facts and blah, 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 blah. But you know about jealousy and you know about endurance and all sorts of things that are feelings and experiences. And it makes you more rational. You have a human understanding of the world. And that is super powerful because it's this complex combination of experience, feeling, and rationality. Pretty cool. So thanks, Kathleen, for explaining experience and feeling and how those are kind of knowing. So don't you forget it out there. As you are experiencing the world today, think about your reasons for things. You should be rational, but also notice your feelings and how they are teaching you about your world too, and how your experience has led you to conclusions that you didn't find anywhere else. It was through what you lived that you learned things and that you're learning things today. So, you keep being awesome out there combining these different kinds of knowledge. You're pretty cool. Humans are pretty cool. Glad you're on my team. Happy to have you here. You stay out intentional out there today and have a colorfully critical day. Bye.